Addie Connor is a passionate designer with big dreams in footwear. At her father's shoe repair shop, her sister Claudia brings exciting news. She's landed Addie a front desk job at Delaney Diaz, a top Manhattan shoe designer. Addie feels torn about accepting, but their father Tony encourages her to chase her dreams. At Delaney Diaz, Addie looks out of place in flats while everyone else wears heels. Janice from HR offers her a more urgent position. Delaney's assistant just quit, and the spot is open. It seems only the strongest last at Delaney Diaz. The previous assistant left in a hurry, leaving a chaotic mess at her desk. When Thomas, Janice's assistant, arrives and sees the disaster, he panics and bolts, prompting Addie to step in and clean up. While tidying up, she accidentally spills coffee on PR Austin's white shoes. But she quickly gets creative, using design supplies to transform his sneakers into something unique. Impressed by her creativity, Austin takes her to meet Delaney. He introduces Addie as the new assistant, but Delaney is skeptical, especially about her flats. However, when Austin shows off Addie's sneaker design, Delaney's interest is piqued. Still, she tells Addie to leave, but not before Addie compliments Delaney on her footwear genius, leaving Delaney with a rare smile. Back at the repair shop, Addie vents her frustration to Tony and Claudia about her day. Tony tries to console her, but just then, Addie receives a notification that she's been hired as Delaney's assistant on a trial basis, which leaves her thrilled. The next day, Addie dives into her duties but quickly realizes she's not meeting Delaney's high standards. Determined not to fail, she corrects her mistakes. While arranging food for a meeting, Austin stops by to warn her that Delaney won't like it. Guest-pleasing Delaney is quite tough. As Addie worries about getting fired, Austin reassures her that Delaney has a soft side beneath her tough exterior. Delaney was a close friend of his late mother, who supported him through tough times. He shares that he fought to get her the job, surprising Addie. It turns out Delaney has a good reason for her tough exterior because she's been sued by a former assistant who falsely accused her of stealing ideas, and the media frenzy that followed nearly destroyed her reputation. Austin is doing everything he can to help her reclaim her position, but with Fashion Week approaching, they're counting on a successful show. Meanwhile, Franco Chaussure is attempting a hostile buyout, aiming to turn Delaney's luxury brand into a discount line. If they can't secure buyers at the runway show, Delaney may have to sell. Just then, Thomas brings in shoes for display, but Addie rearranges them in a way she believes will attract buyers. During the meeting, Reen, a potential buyer, expresses interest in purchasing all the boots. However, Delaney quickly spots a pricing error, one that was Addie's mistake, and apologizes to Reen, suggesting they reschedule to provide the correct pricing. When Delaney learns that Reen will be meeting with Franco later that week, she suggests they head to her office to discuss things further, with Austin escorting the buyers away. Addie tries to apologize for the mistake, but Delaney cuts her off sharply, telling her that excuses are the tools of apathy, which only stagnate one's life. Addie's first day is definitely an epic fail at this point. At home, Addie expresses her doubts to Claudia, fearing she's not cut out for the job. Claudia reassures her and teases her about Austin, though Addie is hesitant to pursue anything with him. Just as she thinks she's blown her chance with the job, Delaney messages her with a task for the next day. The next day, Addie runs into Austin at a cafe while ordering Delaney's coffee. He shows her a trick to get it just right, and in return, asks for her help convincing Delaney to attend his father's event. Austin then notices her sketchbook and reveals that the campaign on the cover was his, surprising Addie. He compliments her designs, but advises her not to pitch them to Delaney yet, as she has trust issues and only works with her team. Austin advises Addie to earn Delaney's trust, and she'll eventually let her in. Back at the office, Addie suggests an idea for a shoe sole, and to her surprise, Delaney accepts it. However, when Delaney finds out Addie scheduled her for Robert Strickland's event, she asks her to cancel, deeming it boring. Unfazed, Addie insists Delaney go, explaining that Austin's father has been hard on him, and Delaney agrees to attend, but warns Addie to keep the reporters away. At the event, Addie rushes off to find Austin, and he takes her downstairs to reveal his out-of-the-box idea. A brilliant party space featuring a Delaney Diaz crystal shoe and a spotlight. The vibe is much livelier than upstairs. Inspired, Addie devises a plan to get people to the lower level. She and Austin start a whisper campaign, and it works perfectly. Soon, the crowd heads downstairs, including Delaney herself. Robert joins the party downstairs and is clearly displeased with Austin's spontaneous setup. Delaney explains to Addie that Robert became distant after his wife passed, focusing on work and seeking stability, which often clashes with Austin's adventurous spirit. Before they leave, Delaney notices Addie's shoes, a Delaney Diaz design, and Addie explains she borrowed them from her father's client to represent her well, which pleases Delaney. Just then, reporter Jacob Watts spots them and sarcastically questions whether Delaney is parading her old designs, hinting at theft. To manage the situation, Addie quickly introduces a random man to Delaney, telling her he wants to talk about her vintage designs. Jacob, intrigued, wonders if a collaboration between Delaney Diaz and this man, Armand Alance, is in the works. Unbeknownst to her, Armand is actually a top designer. Armand, playing along, tells Jacob that time will tell about a potential collaboration. Jacob, who's eager for the scoop, asks Armand to let him be the first to know the details before leaving. Delaney thanks Armand for saving her, and he kisses her goodbye. Addie, feeling guilty, admits she didn't know Armand and only wanted to get Jacob to leave. Delaney, frustrated, tries to leave, but Austin steps in with a quick solution. He causes a scene by having Jacob, who's standing by the crystal shoe, accidentally knock it over and break it. The commotion gets everyone talking about Delaney Diaz, and Jacob is escorted out by security. Later, Austin takes Addie on a walk, showing her an artful display of Delaney Diaz's shoes hanging from wires in the air. He reveals his plan to make it rain. Delaney Diaz shoes in the busiest district lane early in the morning to generate buzz. They have fun tossing the shoes onto the wires. A connection is evident between the two. When Addie asks why Delaney stopped designing, Austin explains that Delaney lost confidence after a dip in sales, forcing her to shift to more basic models for department stores to keep her brand alive. Addie suggests Delaney take a risk and return to high fashion, but Austin explains they're outnumbered. Impressed by his ideas, Addie encourages him to start his own PR firm, but Austin reveals Robert runs the biggest firm in New York, and it's a big leap. Addie confides in Austin that she doesn't know if she has a voice in the industry. They share an emotional moment, their faces close, creating an undeniable tension between them, but Addie quickly pulls away, breaking the moment. The next day, Addie arranges everything at the office and offers chocolates Claudia made as a peace offering. Delaney refuses due to the sugar, but asks Addie to schedule a lunch with Armand, surprising her. Addie leaves to make the arrangements, while Delaney secretly enjoys one of the chocolates. Over the next couple of scenes, Addie quickly settles into her role at Delaney Diaz, and things run smoothly. While Delaney poses for a Fashion Week shoot, a woman stops by and asks Addie if Delaney is planning a comeback. Excitedly, Addie confirms that Delaney is running a show for Fashion Week. The woman then notices a Delaney Diaz shoe design on Addie's table and inquires about it. Addie covers it up and explains the concept of the shoe. When the woman asks to see more, Addie assures her it will be in the Fashion Week collection, and the woman leaves. Unbeknownst to Addie, the woman is Andrea Walker, who works for Franco. Austin asks if Addie revealed anything, and she tells him she only mentioned the show. It seems Addie's put herself in trouble again. Back home, Addie rushes to prepare for the birthday of Claudia's baby, Ruby, and Tony expresses frustration over her hectic schedule. Just then, Addie receives a notification for an urgent meeting at the office. Tony, upset, reminds her of the family dinner tradition in honor of her late mom, but Addie promises to return in time and hurries off. At the office, Addie learns that Franco has stolen the shoe design Andrea saw and even used the concept she explained to her. Delaney is frustrated and instructs Austin to contact Alexander from the design team in order to make new designs for Fashion Week. When Addie mentions she has a family function, Delaney insists she's on the job and must handle it. Reluctantly, Addie texts Claudia, letting her know she'll be late for the party and dinner. After reviewing the designs, Delaney remains unsatisfied. Alexander promises to get the team to come up with new ones by the next day. Frustrated, Delaney asks him to gather the best options so they can review them, then steps out to clear her head. Alexander and Austin ask Addie to convince Delaney to wait until the next day, and though hesitant, Addie agrees to try. In Delaney's office, Addie suggests she look inward for a solution since the brand was built on her vision. Delaney admits she hasn't designed in years, and the vintage shoes Addie wore were her favorite collection. Addie encourages her to return to those designs, but Delaney insists it's not what the buyers want. She asks Addie to call the team in for instructions, but Addie lingers, glancing at multiple missed calls from Tony and Claudia. Delaney notices and tells her that success comes from difficult choices, and while Addie has talent, she must also make sacrifices to succeed. Back at home, Tony confronts Addie for missing Ruby's birthday and family dinner. Addie explains Delaney needed her, but Tony says Claudia and he was hurt. He reminds her that family comes first and urges her to find balance, leaving Addie feeling guilty. The next day, Addie arrives at the office exhausted after working all night on a client's shoe, only to be assigned menial tasks by Delaney. Frustrated, she heads to Delaney's office, but realizes Delaney stayed up all night working too. Addie sees sketches on Delaney's desk and suggests using those designs, but Delaney remains set on newer models. Addie expresses her disappointment about only running errands when she hoped to learn more, and Delaney insists it's part of the job. Tension rises as Addie explains she missed her niece's party and a family dinner in honor of her mother, emphasizing the importance of balance. Delaney coldly tells her to go home and wait for Janice to contact her when she's needed, leaving Addie feeling dejected as she walks out. Later, Addie meets Austin, who's created a stunning display of Delaney Diaz's shoes. Addie confides that Delaney has fired her, leaving Austin shocked. She feels the industry isn't for her and doesn't want to disappoint anyone anymore, which makes Austin reassure her that caring about others is a good trait. Addie mentions Delaney is sketching again, but she doesn't want to use those designs for the show. Austin believes Addie got through to Delaney and advises her to hang in there, but Addie doubts she can keep going, and Austin offers to drop her off at home. At home, Addie introduces Austin to Tony and Claudia, only to be surprised by tons of gifts and food sent by Delaney as an apology for making Addie miss the party. It turns out Delaney hasn't fired her, even offering time off if needed, and Addie is amazed by Delaney's kindness. Later, Austin comforts a crying Ruby, and Claudia teases Addie about him being a keeper. She compliments a shoe Addie is sketching, and Addie shares her dream of having her design in Delaney's collection. To make her happy, Claudia signs Delaney's name beneath the sketch. She suggests joining Addie to the office the next day, in order to thank Delaney. The next morning, Delaney laughs with Claudia over a chit-chat, which is definitely a rare sight. Addie comes along, informing Delaney that the final designs are ready, and Austin will pick the best for the press release. Claudia thanks Delaney again, and Addie hands her the final design to help drop by her desk, while she heads to handle the new latte machine. However, Claudia slips Addie's signed sketch from the previous night into the final designs, hoping to push Addie's work forward. At the cafe, Addie hands Austin the final designs, unaware her sketch is inside. After he leaves, Audrey approaches, trying to recruit Addie to work for Franco, but Addie refuses. At the Fashion Week opening party, Addie and Delaney arrive, and Addie heads to get drinks. She checks her phone, and is shocked to discover her design on the Delaney Diaz press release. Jacob approaches Delaney, curious about the bold new design. However, Delaney tells him it's not her design, which makes him accuse her of stealing a design and signing it as her own, hinting it will make a sensational story for the press, before leaving. Furious, Delaney orders a team meeting for the next day, vowing to find the culprit. The following day, Delaney questions the team, but no one knows how the design ended up in the catalog. Alexander suspects Austin might have done it for publicity, but Delaney refuses to believe that. Discouraged by the media backlash, Delaney decides to cancel the show. At the cafe, while waiting for Austin, Addie calls Claudia, informing her about the catastrophe at the office. Claudia admits she added her sketch to push Addie's designs, and Addie is upset by this. Claudia offers to fix things by calling Delaney, but Addie refuses, fearing it would make things worse. Unbeknownst to Addie, Andrea overhears the entire conversation. Things are spiraling out of control here. Austin arrives and Audrey tells him that Addie slipped the design into the catalog, also mentioning Franco's job offer to her. Addie tries to explain, but Austin cuts her off, saying Audrey already filled him in. He expresses his disappointment, accusing her of playing a traitorous game, and walks away. Later, Tony finds Addie sitting in a gloomy mood. She opens up about everything, and he comforts her, reminding her of what her mom used to say, just because something falls apart doesn't mean it can't be rebuilt. With newfound determination, Addie arrives at the office to explain everything to Delaney, although Delaney feels it's too late to save the company, having already canceled the show. Addie urges her to use the venue they still have. Delaney reveals that she's thrown out all the shoes the manufacturer made, leaving nothing to present. Addie convinces her to use authentic vintage sketches, and proposes that her family make the shoes. At the shop, Delaney thanks Tony for agreeing to make the shoes on such short notice, and everyone gets to work. Meanwhile, Austin receives a package from Addie at his house, finds a custom-made shoe inside, with a note telling him to come to the show the next day because they won't go down without a fight. The next day, the venue is packed for the show. Delaney hands Addie the shoes she designed and tells her she wants her to walk the runway in them, giving credit where it's due, and compliments her design, which deeply touches Addie. The runway show is a huge success, with the audience wowed by the models strutting in the stunning shoes. Addie convinces Delaney to join her on the runway, and the crowd erupts in cheers as Delaney makes her triumphant comeback. Delaney introduces Addie as her latest designer, announcing that she will be heading a new men's design line, and this surprises Addie. Spotting Austin in the crowd, Addie pulls him onto the runway, and the three of them walk together. Delaney shares that the sales are already booming, and that Franco's plan to buy the company is no longer a threat, which excites Addie and Austin. Austin reveals he's opened his own PR firm, inspired by Addie, and Delaney excitedly agrees to be his first client. Overwhelmed with excitement, Austin asks Addie out on a date, and she eagerly agrees. They walk the runway one more time, sharing a passionate kiss in front of everyone, head over heels in love.